And with me I have Daniel Burns. He's an attorney. He's been on the show before and he's done a lot in our community. He's really kind of got a different spin on being an attorney, I guess. It's mediation. And mediation is a non-adversarial?
Correct.
So we're not going to fight?
Not going to fight.
Okay, good. Tell us about it.
Well, I started about 15 years ago after I was a divorce litigator. Came to realize that this was a real destructive process for a lot of families, that children were becoming involved in the middle of a contentious battle. They were pawns in a very destructive battle between their parents. And so I started doing some research and came upon mediation as a way to help couples end their marriage without getting involved in that legal battle. So 1996, I started doing mediation full-time, gave up my litigation practice entirely. And
that was a change, wasn't it?
Big change, yes. It was wonderful. It was good for me.
It was liberating
It was
for you.
liberating, yes. And it was good for my clients. Since that time, I've probably helped 2,000 couples end their marriage without going to court, without becoming involved in a battle, and getting through a very difficult time. So I really love what I do now, and I find that it's a part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about what mediation is. Do each party, let me get the correct English here. Does each party have to get their own mediator or own attorney? How does that work? Or can both of us come in and say, can you help us? Because we want this to go smoothly, and can you help both?
Yes, and in fact, that's the only thing I do. I only work with couples.
Okay.
So what I do is invite them to come in and meet me and sit down for a half hour and just chat and see if this is the right process for you, see if it's the right way to go. And if it is, if both of you are willing to sit down together and come up with a solution that'll allow you to end your marriage without going to court, without getting involved in a battle, then I work with that couple. At the conclusion of the process, what I do is I help them by providing them with knowledge. I give them legal information, I help them make decisions, I work with them to come up with solutions that might work best for their unique situation. And then at the end of the process, if an agreement is all worked out between them, because I'm also an attorney, I then prepare the legal documents that they need, which reflects their settlement. So I'll create the legal agreement, I'll provide them each with a copy of that. Some of those couples then take the copy of the agreement to their own individual lawyers for review.
Oh, so they can still do that?
Oh, yeah. Most of them don't. In all honesty, most people don't choose to have their own lawyer involved because, number one,
now
they don't want...
they're going to start getting adversarial.
That's the concern, that this is going to turn into a battle.
Do you involve the kids?
If the couple wants to involve the kids, we do, but that's rare. Usually, the parents come in and make decisions that have the children's best interest in mind. So they work together to come up with a solution that keeps the kids out of the whole process. But occasionally, children will come in and voice their opinion on something or want to be heard, just want to be part of that process.
Where do the kids live? I mean, how does that, because that's part of the problem sometimes. Do you live with the mom, the dad, or do you have the house for the kids and the parents move in and out of the house?
You know, it's funny you say that. I wrote a blog about a year ago on what I call nesting, where the children stay in the house and the parents come back every other week. And it happens, but I don't know that it happens long term. That may be more of a temporary solution. But one of the interesting things that I found is more and more couples are opting for a shared parenting arrangement. I see very few couples now that come in and the children live with only one parent and they see the other parent on every other weekend. That tends to be rare, and it may be simply because of the type of people that come to my service, that they're putting their children's needs first. So they come in and they want to develop a shared parenting plan where they spend a significant amount of time just as they had before they were separated.
And it makes it kind of better because if you're the mom and you've got the kids every week and the father gets them for the fun day,
right,
and you've got them for the rest of the disciplinary time, it makes it not so good for the kids.
No, I think that's true. And a lot of the parents now are sharing the role of being caretaker like never before. I think we don't see the model where mom stays home and cares for the children exclusively as much. So it tends to be a situation where the children spend 2 or 3 days a week with mom, 2 or 3 days a week with dad, and both parents provide the homework and meal planning and running them around to their appointments and doing all that stuff.
Everything else that goes with it.
And let's face it, a lot of families today require 2 incomes just to make ends meet.
That's right.
You know, sometimes when couples come in, one of the things that I'll say to them is the challenge for most everyone is how do we live separately on the same money we couldn't live on together? You know,
that's a tough thing.
Tough thing.
Very tough, because now you got 2 well, we won't even go
Right.
there. But that has to all be addressed.
That's correct.
Now, I know that you're in the Schenectady area, and many people that are watching this might be outside of our area. Are there many attorneys that do this, or is this unique?
More and more attorneys are doing it. When I first started in 1996, there weren't very many. Frankly, there's not as much money in the field of mediation.
Well, we
as
talked about that.
Right.
Do you want to put your kids through
Through
college or my kids
right,
through college?
That's right.
And it's true. I mean, you can eat up a lot of money through adversarial
That's
positions.
correct. But I think more and more attorneys are getting into this field now, partly for their own benefit, that the stress of going to battle and fighting things out in court is wearing on the attorneys as much as on the clients.
I'm sure they love to get that call at 8 in the morning that, you don't know what he did last night, and I need to talk to you right now.
Right. It's very stressful, very
Very
stressful.
So, now, I know that you're involved in family law, but just to take this one step further, can mediation be used in other areas, such as a business partnership or, you know, anything along those lines?
Sure. Anytime there's a dispute, mediation is a viable option for people. There's programs with the Postal Service called the Ombudsman Program, where they help resolve workplace issues between co-workers, employers, business partners. I've worked with people who had a business partnership, medical practices or veterinarian practices that decided to end their relationship. And they don't want to fight, they don't want to go into court, but we do want to come up with something that feels fair to each of us.
That each feels it's a win-win situation.
Right.
If you can make it that way.
If you can make it that way. And that's what we do. We really focus on what the underlying interests are instead of fighting over positions, trying to help people identify what's most important. And frankly, in the family law arena, what's most important is almost invariably the children. And the need to have a continuing relationship with my former spouse.
Yeah.
I don't hate you because we're not getting divorced. Maybe we can't live together.
You know.
Perhaps.
Sometimes.
But not the couples that I see.
No,
Most of the
right.
couples.
See, you're seeing it, but you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe we can turn people around to think in terms of that you don't have to go through life hating the person that you loved at one time.
Right. When I first started doing this, I didn't see it because I came from a litigation background, and I assumed that everyone getting divorced disliked their spouse and were going into battle, and I was their gladiator.
Yeah.
But since that time, I've come to realize that there are many, many people who simply want to get on with their lives. We want to move on. It didn't work out for us, and that's a sad thing. But I don't want to make a bad situation worse by becoming involved in a protracted legal battle that is going to take all the family resources, number one, and create a lot of animosity between us that's really unnecessary.
So it makes it easier on the attorney if everybody kind of comes to the table and
it's
can
better,
talk
you know.
peacefully.
I say to people, you know, you have to be willing to play nice, you know, to come up with a solution.
Do grandparents ever get involved in this?
Grandparents often are the behind-the-scenes process. A funny story, there's a mediator up in Malta now, and she became a mediator after I mediated her divorce. And she said to me, when I told my mother that I was getting divorced, her mother, who was a court reporter, said, go to mediation, don't fight, I don't want to see you and her husband get involved in a legal battle. And she contacted me, we mediated the divorce, and a couple of years later, she became a mediator herself. She's not a lawyer, but she just decided that...
it's a start anyway,
that's right.
Maybe.
That's right.
Just to get a start, because you're definitely going to have to go through some kind of legal process because you signed a contract when you got married. Now you're dissolving that contract. And we talk about marriage in one way, but it still was a contract.
That's right. That's right. And in fact, if this couple wants to use a mediator who's not a lawyer, most of those mediators have a relationship with an attorney, friendly attorney,
Right.
who will prepare the legal documents in a non-adversarial way. So there's a place for that as well.
Good. If you want to learn more, he does have a website, and you can check out his website and learn a little bit more about that. Hopefully you don't have to face this, but if you do, for whatever reason, certainly try to be civil and try to perhaps go through mediation. My personal preference would be a mediation rather than putting the gloves on.
Costs very little to try it. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, you can always go to a lawyer.
Go one other step.
Right.
Dan, always good to
And
see you.
thank you.
Come back
Thank you for
again.
having me. I
It's
will.
always good information.
Thanks.